Welcome to the podcast of Torres Consulting.
Hello, and welcome to a new episode of Torres Hospitality Consulting Podcast, episode 105 of this series of interviews with great leaders of the hospitality industry globally. Today, we have the pleasure of having with us Russell L. Edmond, who is an entrepreneur and a consultant specially focused on marketing and content creation for hotels, who hopefully is going to share some tricks and tips to improve hotels' marketing and content, obviously. Russell, how are you?
It's good, Pablo. How are you today?
Very good. Thanks very much. Thanks for getting some of your time to discuss things about the marketing and content, which is your expertise. And thank you for accepting the invitation to be on the show as one of the main top social media and influencers globally, as per the International Hospitality Institute. So it was great to get your some time on the show. Now, I always start with the interviews asking the guests about to share the background. So in your case, 25 years in the industry, focus on sales and marketing, from obviously working in hotels, like most of us have started. In your case, going up to you're a hospitality marketing consultant, having your own firm for many years already. So how did that evolution go in your case?
Well, it started, years ago in college. I mean, I went to college, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. I'll be honest. I didn't know that I wanted to go into hotels or hospitality. I didn't even know what that even was for the most part. So, so what I did was I bounced around from different majors here in the States. I went to Cal Poly. It's called California State Polytechnic University in Pomona, which is right about 30 minutes outside of Los Angeles, where I'm located currently. So like I said, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I know I wanted to be in the School of Business, and I ended up, kind of experimenting with other majors. And one of those majors was hospitality management, or it was called Hotel, Restaurant, and Travel Management. That's what it was called. So I said, well, that's kind of interesting. I mean, I don't know what that really entails, but I'll, take a class or two and just see how I feel about it. And maybe, you never know. So I took a one class, and it had to do with McDonald's. It was the first, it was intro to hospitality management, it was intro to restaurant management. And not that I had any aspiration of being a restaurant manager or being that much in food and beverage. I mean, I love food, but it had nothing to do with me wanting to run a restaurant. So, but it was very intriguing. So the professor made it very intriguing, very educational, very eye-opening, that I didn't even know, half the stuff about how McDonald's started, or, just behind the scenes on how they do things. And I thought that was very interesting. And I said, well, let me take another class. And then I took more classes, and I got into the hotel part of it. And then along the way, I had marketing background too. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna pick up a minor in marketing too. So at the end of the 4 years, I ended up with a degree in hospitality management and one in a minor in marketing. So from there, I started my career with Marriott Hotels, but with the Courtyard division. So this was a while back when Courtyard, they had been around for a little while, but they weren't, they were strictly for business travelers at that time. That's what the whole theme was. But I started off as a housekeeping manager. I didn't start off as anything other than that, because I didn't know. I knew eventually I wanted to get into sales, just because that was kind of, I had this flair for presentations and things like that. And I thought, me, showing the best of me was being able to talk in front of people, persuading people to utilize this particular product or service. But I didn't know the hotel industry. So I had to take a step back and say, you know what, I'm going to learn the hotel industry first, and then apply that later in the sales arena. So like I said, I started off as a housekeeping manager trainee, and I did that. And that was probably one of the best positions I could have started in. I mean, because I learned so much about, the back of the house, and, working with housekeepers, and just all the things that came along with that. I mean, that's, learning another language and things like that, which was great. I mean, it was very rewarding. I mean, even to this day, regardless of everything I've done, that's probably one of the most rewarding position that I had. But I knew that wasn't going to stop there, but I just continued on from there. But I spent about 3 to 5 years with Marriott, and then ended up leaving there and going to a full service hotel where I started as a night manager and kind of worked my way up to an assistant general manager from there. And then from there transitioned, got an opportunity to, a owner was buying another hotel in the Los Angeles area, because that previous hotel was in Sacramento, which is Northern California, near San Francisco. So I was moving back to Los Angeles, and the owner, he knew that I was interested in moving back to Los Angeles. And he said, well, I have a hotel there, and I'm going to buy it, but it's going to be like in, I think he said about 5 or 6 months. He said, well, can you wait 5 or 6 months? I said, yeah, I don't have anything else, so I'll wait. And then I waited, and then opened up or went to this new hotel as a night manager. And then after that, maybe about 6 months there, got into sales. But it wasn't easy. I mean, I had let people know that I was interested in sales, but people, if you're from the outside, meaning you didn't have any sales experience, they're not just going to give you, okay, well then come on over. They're going to ask you every question. They're going to throw every roadblock, every obstacle in your way to trip you up, right? So, I said, well, this is what I want to do, and this is what I'm going to do. So I had in my plan, in my mind, I had a plan, right? So what I started doing was, they would have sales blitzes, like meaning they would go to basically going door to door, business to business, letting the companies know that, okay, there's a hotel down the street or within your area. And if you have any needs for hotels or say catering or anything like that, we're the hotel for you, so that kind of thing. So you're giving that sales pitch all the time. So I volunteered to do things like that. Every time they had a sales blitz, I did it. Anytime they did anything sales related, although that was not my main goal at that time, I did it. So I put myself out there, and then people started seeing it like, well, maybe he's serious about sales. Maybe he knows more than what we think. I'm like, so they eventually, one director of sales and marketing left and another one came in. So as soon as this new person came in, I went to him. His name is Tom Torrance. I still remember this like it was yesterday. I went to him and I said, hey, Tom, I said, I know you're new in your position, but I have this aspiration to be in sales. And he said, why? I said, well, because I think I can add something to this particular hotel. I think you're missing something. But, I just, whatever the sales spiel was. And he said, well, I don't have an opening now, but he said, the next time I have an opening, I'll interview you. I'll let you know, and then we'll get you in here for an interview. I said, okay. So about 6 months later, there's an opening. So, and I knew it. It's funny. I knew it before he knew it, because I knew everything that was going on in the sales department, right? I knew if someone was leaving or whatever. So this person left, and I knocked on his door before that person even left. I said, hey, just so you know, this person's leaving. So I remember what you said 6 months ago. And make a long story short, he ended up giving me a job and giving me a shot, right? But it was funny how my introduction into sales was, he gave me I don't know, this is before the internet, okay? This is before you can Google things, right? So he gave me, it's called a book of list. And it's a big, thick book with every company in LA County. Every company, every CEO, every whatever they did, how big the company was, it was a book of lists. So he said, here. I said, well, what is this? What do you want me to do with this? He said, I want you to find business. He had no training, nothing, not how to do it. He gave me this book of lists and said, hey, find some business. And basically it was just basically dialing for dollars. So I'm reading through each one. I started from the front and just started calling these numbers. And one thing I found out is that you cannot call up the CEO and think he's going to answer the phone. Okay. You're going to get a gatekeeper or his assistant or whatever. So I learned that pretty quickly that, you have to find out who like an admin person is for that particular person, or find out if there's other departments, maybe somebody that does travel or whatever. So, I mean, like I said, it wasn't taught to me. It wasn't trained to me. These are things that through trial and error, I had to figure it out, because, it was so important for me to get in sales that I just had to figure it out. So I went through this list, and eventually I started, getting people to call me back, and eventually I booked business. It wasn't real, substantial group business, which, as a sales manager, you want groups, 10 rooms or more coming in at one time. But I started getting individual reservations coming in. So he saw that I wasn't put off by, I wasn't discouraged by the method that he taught me or gave me. And then from there, he gave me a market. He gave me the Smurf market, which I don't know to this day why you would give a inexperienced salesperson, the Smurf market, which stands for social, military, educational, religious, and fraternal. So that's what Smurf stands for. It's an acronym for those. And so I made it work. So I ended up getting sports teams to come to the hotel because that's part of the Smurf thing. And from there, I was there for 3 years and I did very well. Always made my numbers, always made my goals. And from there, I left that hotel thinking that I wanted to go back into operations. And the reason why I did that, I took a position as a director of operations only because we had just had my daughter. So this was years ago, and I wanted to be closer to home, and that was literally about half the time it took me because in LA, commuting it was probably 45 minutes to an hour for me to get to my job. Well, this job was in Marina Del Rey, so it was probably only 15 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes. So I took that job, and I was only there for about 10 months because once you go into sales, I was like, what possessed me to go back into operations? I already learned operations as much as I wanted to learn at that point. I was, wanted sales, and that's where I saw my career going. And then from there, I like after 10 months, I left there and got another sales position and at LAX, which is actually closer to my house. And then on my first day, it was a Crown Plaza at LAX. On my first day, I booked business. And that's unheard of for you to just walk in off the street, first time in a hotel and book business. Book it it was a substantial piece of business too. It's probably, $50,000-$60,000 back then. It was,
Wow.
multiple room nights. There was meetings. There was breakfast, lunch, dinner. It was all kind of stuff, and it blew everyone away. They're like, "How does this guy just walk in off the street?" Well, the thing that they didn't know, the backstory is I had built relationships with people, and just so happens I was calling people that let them know that I was at this new hotel, and just so happens one of the person that I had been trying to get to do business with for several years was looking for a hotel at LAX, and I said, "Well, I'm at LAX now." So she comes in, she looks around and says, "Okay, let's do it here." So within that one day, it was a done deal. So but the funny thing, it wasn't funny to the hotel, and this has nothing to do with that group, but a young lady that I knew back in Sacramento who knew I was interested in sales. Now we're talking about 5 years removed from that hotel in Sacramento. She called me because she's been following my career for the last 5 years. Now I didn't know this. I hadn't talked to her since I left Sacramento. Well, she's now a vice president of sales and marketing for this hotel company. It's called Sunstone Hotels. And I said, she called me. I remember her name is Sue Gregory. She called me and I said, "Sue, how are you?" And she goes, "Hey, I hear good things about you. You're now at this hotel. You're doing sales." And I said, "Well, wow, I didn't realize that you've been, keeping tabs on me because I didn't know where she was. I assumed she was still in Sacramento." Well, no, she's in Southern California now, and she has this opportunity for me to be a director of sales and marketing. Okay, I've been at this hotel for 3 weeks. Okay, and I said, "Well, Sue, I just got here," and she said, "Well, the hotel." She goes, "This is the thing. The hotel is down the street from where you're working now, but it hasn't been. They wanted me because they were going to reflag it or rebrand it to a Courtyard, which I had tons of experience with Courtyard." And so I said, "Well, hey, that makes sense to me. I always want to be a director of sales. I didn't think it would come that fast or that soon, but I'm up for the opportunity." So she gave me the opportunity, and I started as a director of sales and marketing at this hotel. That was because it took probably, in order for us to convert it from a non-brand to a Courtyard, it probably took about 6 to 8 months with all the due diligence and all the PIP, product improvement plans and all that kind of stuff that Marriott gives you. And it took probably about 6 to 8 months. But it was one of the most rewarding experiences, learning from day one what it took to be a Marriott. And when we turned that key on to be a Marriott or put that flag up, it went from a 40% hotel to an 85% hotel overnight. I mean, at the snap of your fingers, we were at 85%. And then we ended up the next 12 months at over 90, I want to say 93, 94%, something like that. It was one of the highest in the Courtyard system at that time.
Mhm.
So yeah, and then from there went to other hotels, went to another from the Courtyard went to a Hilton, from the Hilton went to another Hilton in San Pedro. From that Hilton, what I did, and this is kind of a pivoting point in my sales career, is that my long-term goal was to be. I'm sorry, I guess I had a call come through. My goal was to be a director of sales and marketing at a 600-room hotel with about 50,000 square feet of meeting space. That was the goal, but I didn't know how I was going to get there. I knew I was going to get there, but I didn't know how, because there's no blueprint. No one gives you a blueprint for what you're going to do. And along the way, you need to acquire advocates for you, meaning people that will speak on your behalf, which means you got to do a good job. I mean, because no one wants to be an advocate for someone that's not doing a good job. Okay, so what I ended up doing was I needed to take, because I wanted experience at a what am I trying to say? Okay, the hotels that I worked for up to that point were only 225 rooms. That was the most I've ever worked. Okay, that was the biggest hotel I ever worked in. So there was no way I was going to be able to transition from a 225 room hotel with no meeting space to a 600 plus room hotel with 50,000 square feet of meeting space. There's no way that was going to happen. So I had to think within myself and say, what do I need to do to get to that point? Because that's where I want to go. What I need to do to get to that point. So within I was working with interstate hotels at that point. So within our region, there was the hotel called the Westin Bonaventure, which is the largest hotel here in Los Angeles County. It's 1,386 rooms, okay, with over 100,000 square feet of meeting space. Okay, so mind you, I'm a director of sales and marketing right now, currently of a 225 room hotel, okay, Hilton. So I called up my VP of sales and said, hey, this is what I want to do. Her name is Julie Regal. I said, Julie, this is what I want to do. I'm thinking about, making the transition. She goes, why would you do that? She almost basically said that was career suicide, because the hotel had a reputation, one, and she goes, that place will eat you up, is what she said, because it was so big. And I don't think they thought it was managed correctly. But I said, this is what I want to do. And she said, are you sure this is what you want to do? I said, yeah. She goes, okay, you're going to go in as a national sales manager. I said, that's fine. Okay. So gave my notice. Everybody was, sad that I was leaving. The people at the Bonaventure were happy that I was coming. I had, but I didn't know what I was in store for. So when I got there, yeah, it was tough. It was a tough sale. The hotel's a tough sale, but I managed to make it work. And that's one thing I learned there were contracts, because we had a director of sales he was so stringent and strict on contracts and by the book. I mean, the guy could have been an attorney. He knew so much about contracts, the clauses and this and that, because he was the only one that can turn over. Once the contract was signed, he was the only one that could make it definite in the system that we had. We had a Delphi system. So he was the only one that could do that. So in order for you to turn it over, you had to have a meeting with him, and he would take, I don't know, an hour going through this contract. I mean, he would go line by line, but he would explain what he was looking for, making sure that I understood the contract, just in case the client asked me, right? Well, no one's ever taught me that, right? So I'm like, okay. So it was the biggest learning experience of my life, and to this day, I mean, I thank him for that. His name is Joe Phillips. I thank him for that, because I didn't know contracts like I thought I knew until I met him, until he made me go through this exercise, every single contract. So if you had 10 contracts in 1 week, you were spending 10 hours with him going through those contracts, because that's how detailed he was. And like I said, it made me a better sales manager. So, okay, my goal was to stay there for probably at least 24 months. That was my goal. But then an opportunity came up it was a Radisson then at LAX. It was 600 rooms, 42,000 square feet of space, right? So I applied for it and I got it. So I made my transition over there, and it was great experience for a couple years, and I learned a lot because I got to deal with, it was an airport property, and then it had a lot of meeting space. So we dealt with different types of groups, and small groups and just interesting groups, and it was great. It was great. And then from there, I went to other smaller hotels. Because once I made the goal, I didn't want to go up at that point. I didn't want to, keep, oh, now I want 1,000 room hotel. No, that was my goal. I mean, that was my sweet spot, 600 rooms, 42,000 square feet. So anything less than that, it was more for me to teach other people, to bring other people in and teach them how to sell and things like that. So that's what I ended up doing. I ended up going to a couple more hotels, and I actually was offered a position as a general manager, which to this day, I wish I did not take, but I did. And I think I lasted, or I did about 13 months, and that was enough for me. And I went back into sales. So, and then my last hotel was the Sheraton Universal, which is right near Universal Studios in Hollywood. And that was a dream hotel that turned into a nightmare. Okay, so I'd always drive by this hotel on my way to another hotel because it sat on a hill. And I said, you know what? One day I'm gonna work at that hotel. And I did, but I always tell people, be careful what you wish for because you may get it. And it was not, it was just, the management was not good, the management company. And there's a lot of things that, you get in there and you think they're setting you up to succeed. Well, a lot of times you're set up to fail. And, and then, you have owners that are what am I trying to say? They have unrealistic goals and unrealistic expectations. And when you're trying to explain, things, they don't listen, and they just, well, this is what I want. Well, okay, you can want anything, but I mean, I'm explaining you why we can't get that. I mean, these are things that we can do, but what you're asking for is just totally just unrealistic. Well, it came to a point where it was one of those decisions I had to make. That said, you know what? I think at this point, this is when I want to, instead of busting my butt for someone else, I'm gonna bust my butt for myself. So that's when I started Russell of Hotels. That's when I left and I transitioned from hotels to helping hotels out. Because when you're with one hotel, you can only help that one hotel. I had aspirations of helping several hotels at the same time, several people. And at that time I had gained a lot of experience in dealing with social media, which a lot of general managers didn't even understand. And a lot of directors of sales don't even understand. They understand selling, but they don't understand the marketing aspect and how important it is. And everyone should do it. They don't understand that part of it. So yeah, so that's kind of, I don't know how long that took, but that's kind of my career. That's kind of my 25 years in a nutshell.
No, it's brilliant. I mean, it's like to know because I mean, usually I ask, I guess, like, what took you to hospitality? And you say, well, you kind of landed there into marketing. You went through the restaurant, and then eventually you realize that it's something that you enjoy, and you build up your career from there. And at the moment, as you mentioned, you have your own company now, consultant, podcast host. So what is a day in your life professionally looks like?
That's funny. That's a good question. A day in my life now, it all depends on the client and what's going on. But even let's just say there's no client, that there's no interaction from a client. I'm always going to be putting my brand out there. And before I can help anyone else, I was putting my brand out there, meaning I was letting people know what I did and what I can do. And that was more from the social media standpoint, the marketing part of social media, where, and excuse me, I'm getting a sneeze here. But what I do on a daily basis is I go in and visit hotels, hotels that I haven't seen before. And even if I'm not even invited to go to those hotels, I go and I make them my office of the day. Okay, so I basically camp out in someone's lobby use their Wi-Fi, and I'll do my, I'll do my work from there, like you respond to emails and things like that. But along the way, I'm taking pictures of those hotels. I'm taking those photos, and I'm for the purpose of posting for that particular hotel, because how I get business is that I post things so those hotels can see what I'm doing, or everyone can see what I'm doing, right? So to me, that's like leaving a calling card, right? Instead of me going to the front desk and say, hey, this is what I do. No, I'd rather show you what I do, and you can see the results even before you call me, or even before I follow up with a phone call. So like I said, what I'll do, I'll go to a hotel lobby, start taking pictures, start posting, and then it doesn't happen all the time, but a good percentage of the time, those hotels will reach out to me. And I try to specifically do 3 diamond hotels, because that's where my sweet spot is. That's where I came from. I didn't come from the luxury. I didn't come from economy. I came from right in the middle, right? So those are the hotels that I think need the help. Okay. The other one, there's always an influencer, or whatever they want to call themselves, someone in the luxury space. They're always there. But I'm not a luxury person, meaning because I didn't come from there. My experiences comes from 3 diamond hotels. So that's what I do. So I make sure I post, make sure people see it. I always tag that particular hotel on that. And and with hope, they see it, they respond, they thank me. And then that's when it leads to a conversation about, okay, this is something we need help with. Can you assist me with that? So that's basically what I do. And if I don't do that, if I don't leave the house to do that, I've taken so many pictures over the last several years that I can repurpose my content. So that's always a key with social media, because people think you have to have fresh pictures to do things, pictures that you just took today. No, a lot of stuff that I post now, and I tell you this, there's some pictures, photos that I've had for 3 years. I just haven't used them yet. So I have probably on my phone over 1,000 pictures of hotels, in and around hotels and guest rooms or whatever. And I make sure I put them in order so I know which particular hotel this is, right? So, but yeah. And I'll call to make sure the hotel hasn't done any renovation, because I don't want to post any pictures that the hotel's since been renovated. So you have to make sure you do your homework, your due diligence too. But yeah, so that's a day in life. That's basically it. But then when there's projects that do come up, I'm working on that as well. Because what I do, I don't just do the one of the big things I do is branding for hotels, or marketing for hotels through social media. But I do hotel site selection for companies and organizations that need assistance with finding that next hotel for their meeting or their retreat, or their convention or conference or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I do that as well. And then of course I have I started a podcast or a radio. I call it a hospitality talk show that I started back in 2019. And the reason why I started that was we were leaving 2018, and I said, I don't want to go into 2019 doing the same things that I was doing before. So I needed some disruption. I call it being a marketing disruptor. And the definition for me of that is doing something that goes against the grain that you've done before, something that's uncomfortable, because being on the podcast, that was something I never did before. So I was uncomfortable doing it, right? Although I can get up and talk in front of people and present a hotel, but now talking on a microphone and all this kind of stuff. And I didn't know how I was going to be received. And I didn't know what I was really going to talk about. I mean, I knew I had a lot of stuff to talk about, but when you have to do it, then that's something else. But I kind of tune all that stuff out, and I say, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. I happen to be on someone else's podcast, and that's what kind of gave me the idea. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to do it. So I started it, and in 145 shows later, I'm still doing it. So yeah, and the reason why I started it was, to be a marketing disruptor, but it's for hospitality people to come on and share their stories. Okay, because no two people came in this industry alike. Some people planned to go through it. Some people, it was a summer job and it turned it into a career. So everyone has a a story. So I want to make sure I told people's story. And it's a way for people to come on and talk about themselves, talk about their brand, because people don't realize that they're the brand. Okay. They may work for another brand, but people buy you. I always say this, people will buy you before they buy what you're selling. Okay. So if they don't like you, they're not going to buy what you're selling. I mean, that's just it. They'll find someone else. They may be at that same hotel, but they don't want to buy from you. They want to buy from the person that makes them feel good. Or, hospitality, the art of hospitality is how someone is made to feel. Okay. You can only get that from a person to person. You cannot get hospitality from the building. Okay. Because people, I think, well, I got great hospitality. Why? Because, the place was clean. No, that has nothing to do with anything. It's the feeling you got when when the bellman took your bags, or when the valet took your car, or when the front office, they welcomed you and thanked you for coming, and they helped you and gave you the great room that you wanted. I mean, that's where hospitality comes in, right? So I always make sure that, I point that out. So yeah, so that's those are the three things that I do. And so on a daily basis, I mean, I'm doing all kind of things. It's not just one thing. It just depends. Like on Tuesdays, I'm devoted to the podcast, because on Tuesdays, that's when I do my podcast at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But along the way through the week, if I have a guest, I'm sending things to the guest. The guest is sending me, and then I got to promote that show too. So I make sure I'm getting, a headshot from that person or in their bio, and then I'm creating a promo piece for that as well. That goes out, starts maybe late Friday. I do it on Saturday. I'll do it on Monday. I'll do it on Tuesday morning before. So it's fresh in people's minds, because people have short spans, and I want to make sure that they know. So yeah, so I know I was a little bit all over the place, but that's just what I do.
It's a lot. Good. Thanks for sharing it. Now, focusing on marketing, which is obviously your specialty, and social media. Pandemic has hit obviously the industry big time. Have you seen a change in the way hotels market themselves, or the way or the services they request from someone like you because of the pandemic?
Well, how have they? Let's just say, have they changed? Well, I don't think, and this is me saying this, I don't think hotels do a great job of doing social media. I just don't. I don't think they've embraced it as much as they should. There's some hotels that have, and I can't say it's across the board, but the percentage of hotels, a high percentage that I deal with, they don't do any social media, because I follow on my social media platforms. I probably follow, I don't know, several hundred hotels. So I know what they post and what they don't post, right? So I'm like, well, why don't these hotels post? They're not saying anything about anything. What's going on in their hotel, especially during this time when we're coming out of this COVID situation, right? And if anything, people have forgotten about your hotel. Some people don't even know if your hotel's still open. So at the very minimum, you should be posting things about that, right? Yes, we're open, and this is our protocol, or whatever it is. And then you're getting back to, we're next to this destination, that destination, because it's all about, to me, when we're posting, it's not just about the hotel. It's about your surrounding area, the destination, because people don't just say, I'm gonna go to the Russell's hotel just because I just want to go. Well, no, I'm going because it's in the area that I need to be in. It's next to my grandmother lives over there, or I'm going to a conference, or I'm going to Disneyland. I mean, okay, that's why I'm staying at that hotel, right? There's a reason for that. So my job is to tap into those hotels and let them know that this is the way you should do that. But you got to be consistent. You have to tell a story, because people understand how business works, right? So if you all of a sudden you just started to post, and then now we're out of the pandemic, and then now all of a sudden you're starting to post, oh, I got a promotion here, I got a promotion now, right? So they don't want hotels that are always on sale. They want to make sure that there's a story behind that, like what's going on to that hotel. Okay, we're doing pictures and photos of people cleaning, because that's what people want to see right now, right? They want to make sure that the standards that you see on your website are actually the standards that are happening, right? People are sanitizing and things like that. Some people think this COVID thing is over. Well, it's not. Well, you want to make sure hotels need to make sure that they're showing those things. And I just don't think, I mean, to answer your question, I know I didn't went full circle, but to answer your question, I don't think hotels are doing a good enough job on social media. And what they ask me to do is basically identify what they're doing, what they're not doing, and do those things. How to persuade people to come in, or maybe it's just a branding thing. It's not about selling; it's about getting your brand out and showing what your brand stands for or what your brand means, right? If that's doing things within the community, if that's showing your employees because the average length of the employee has been 25 years at that hotel. I mean, those are those are stories that people want to hear because it's about the human person, right? It's not just about this building. It's not about me spending money at your hotel. It's about it's a human connection that you can have with people, and that's what a lot of people don't understand about social media. Is that how it is? So that's what I do. I come in and I just kind of identify what's going on. If they want a strategy, we can put a strategy in place as far as what you should be posting, when you should be posting it, what types of photos that you use. The big thing now are doing reels on Instagram with music. Reels have music, and it can be up to date music. You can be have a beat, a different vibe to it, or what it just. And if you look at any of the stuff that I do, most of this, well, any reels that I do, they all have music, and it just depends on that particular hotel or where it's located as to what type of music I'll pair with it. But yeah, that reels are the big thing. So.
Mhm. I mean, now with social media, I mean, you're saying like many hotels don't really have a strategy, they don't even know what to do, or they have an account might be dormant. So they open an account in social media maybe years ago and they don't really post anything. But at the same time, basically everyone is posting. Now with social media, anyone can be a creator, if I can say that. Now that's good and
Yes.
bad at the same time, because they might say to any intern, oh, it's up to you. You post stuff in there. But it can be a challenge. It's like, who is in charge of posting stuff within hotels? No?
A lot of hotels, they will, well, the higher end hotels, they will deal with PR companies, public relations company that will contract someone to do that. Um, and I think the reason why the posting in some hotels can be kind of spotty, meaning it's there, but sometimes it's not there, it's not consistent, is that they don't know who should do it. You know what I mean? They're not sure who should be doing this social media. And if we figure out who can do it, do they even know what they're doing? Because I've been in situations where, um, my general manager says, "Oh, we can get my daughter can do it." I said, "Well, what does your daughter know about this hotel or this area? Other than her dad is the GM here." You know what I mean? I
And
said,
probably the answer is like, oh, she has 2,000 followers on Instagram, so she knows something.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. That always gets me. But I said, well, I said, it's a little more than that. I mean, that just tells me that the lack of knowledge there, right? I mean, it's good because you want to get a fresh perspective from people. I understand that, like what's in, what's cool, whatever. But what I do is I follow people like that. I follow younger people to see what they're doing, right? To see especially that generation that's booking. I mean, if it's a generation that's like I have kids that are still just teenagers, right? Well, that's not who we're going for. You're going for people that have jobs that can pay to come, right? So 25 to 45 years of age, you want that demographic, right? So how do I get to those people? That's the thing that I'm trying to, and that's the thing that I have to explain to someone that really doesn't have a clue. Someone that may say, oh, my daughter could do that, because she has 2,000 followers on Instagram. I'm like, well, no, on TikTok or whatever. She's doing these TikTok videos. Oh, yeah, that's fine, and that is even fine because you know what? The average person on TikTok is between, I want to say it was 25 to 35 years of age, and it's a mother. Okay. See, a lot of people don't even know that the average person on TikTok is not all these kids. It's they're adults because the adults are watching the kids. Okay. So that's the average age on TikTok. They're mothers. So if you look at it like that, it doesn't make sense for hotels not to have a TikTok page. because you don't have to do anything silly on there, but you can do things and people will see it. You know what I mean? That's the thing. So not that, I mean, I have a TikTok page as well. I do post some things there, but I mean, my main page main platform that I use is Instagram, LinkedIn. I still use Twitter and some Facebook, and then TikTok is probably at the last. But I do use them. So there's a reason. I mean, there's always a method to some of those things, and even YouTube. I mean, YouTube is on there too. I forgot about YouTube because YouTube has something similar to TikTok. It's called YouTube Shorts, where you can pair music as well. And that's what Reels are. Reels are an answer to TikTok as well. So yeah, so no, it's just, like I said, I have to identify what's going on there, and then, but not 9 out of 10 times the hotel doesn't know who should be posting, and that's where I come in. And then when they have that, that's when I can come in and say, hey, well, I can do it for you. I can either teach you to do it, or I can do it. I can manage it for you. And these are things that I can do. I can, post these, several things once I've identified what's going on. And I always want to stay the night there, just to get the feel or the vibe of what's going on in the hotel. Like room service. Do you have room service? And how long does that go? Do you do valet parking, or is it maybe it's a select service hotel where they don't have all that stuff, but they have that market there that's in the lobby and things like that. So you want to highlight some of the things within the hotel, but you always want to look at what's going on outside of the hotel as well, especially are there long-term employees that are there? Do you have a new chef? Do you have like a vegan menu that maybe other hotels in that area don't have? I mean, you have to pinpoint certain things, and I use vegan because I'm a vegan, so I just threw that out there.
All right.
So so you want to make sure that you highlight things that are going on, things that are new. Maybe you just hired someone new. Maybe you have a new general manager. Highlight that person. Let people know. Let them talk. I mean, that's the thing that I see this every now and then, but I don't see it consistently. Where let's say some of the bigger hotels, they get a new sales director, a new sales manager, or a new front office manager. They'll do like a live on their page, say, hey, my name is Russell Edmond, and I'm the new front office manager here at the XYZ hotel. I'm here to help you with your guest needs. If you have any questions at all, just let me know. And it's just like a 30-second video, and people get to see that, okay, there's someone has a new position, and he's willing to help us. I mean, that creates something that a lot of people don't even think about. It creates a human connection. So if I happen to go to the hotel and say, hey, is Russell here? What, do you know Russell? Oh no, I saw him on this, this video that he did. And I know he's new, and he's from the same town that I'm from. I mean, I'm just using that as an example, but I mean, that's how things get created. And that's how people come in and connect with a hotel or a person within that hotel. And that's how it all starts. But if you don't think about that, you'll never understand, but that's my job, to come in with those ideas of what you could be doing. And I'm not saying that I throw that, well, this is what you should be doing, and shame on you because you're not doing it. No, my job is to present, these are things that have worked. These are things that I can do. And a lot of times they look at me as being a former director of sales and marketing. Well, I know, because I've been in that seat before. You know what I mean? And I take the marketing portion serious. So a lot of people are just directors of sales. They may have that marketing title on there, but they're not doing anything about marketing. You know what I mean? So it should be director of marketing and sales, because right now marketing is a big thing that you should be focusing on.
Yeah, probably didn't realize they have this kind of old school mentality as like purely sales, and then marketing is whatever else. Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
Now we've gone through the pandemic. Well, we're finishing now the pandemic era, and there's been a lot of people leaving the hospitality industry. It's been challenging for hotels to find new talent. So now, if it's generally speaking difficult to find new talent, what about sales and marketing staff? Do you see also with your clients that they struggle to find the right profiles to fulfill those roles, sales, marketing within hotels?
The sales and marketing roles, I don't see that being an issue right now. More the issue are the line employees. Those are the people that they're struggling for. People like housekeepers and front office people, restaurant people like dishwashers and things like that. So it's not it's not necessarily the manager positions, but it's the back of the house, heart of the house positions, like the ones I mentioned. Within the sales department, um, no, I haven't come across any that have been struggling to find. We can't find a director of sales here. No, there's enough. I think there's enough of those people out there. But the key is it the right person? That would be more of the question. But yeah, no, they're not currently not having a hard time finding those particular positions.
Okay, they are fulfilled. One last question I have for you, and it's about the young talent. So imagine, for example, you're talking to someone who is 18, 19, thinking of going to college, study hotel management, maybe marketing or sales. What kind of skill set you think is needed to succeed on your expertise, so areas of expertise, sales and marketing?
Well, if you're just starting off at 19 and maybe 20, I mean, I started off that age too, where I didn't know anything. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just I just through a process of elimination is how I found hospitality. Because like we mentioned, like we started off the show, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I said, well, I know I wanted to be in the school of business, but I didn't know what. So I just took a lot of different things to see what interests me. But there's one thing that's lacking, and I'm gonna just use my college as an example, the college that I went to. Um, they don't do a good job with outreach. They don't do a good job of letting people know what opportunities or what majors are available. You know what I mean? So they're not just like hotels should be promoting via social media. Colleges and universities or even hotels that have job openings, they need to do a better job at that as well, because people don't know what they don't know, right? So if you're not posting things, they don't know that that's even a viable study or a thing to study or thing to learn. Because I didn't know that you actually went to school to work in a hotel. I just thought you just went to a hotel, they hired you, and you got a position, and maybe you worked your way up, and that was it. That's what I knew. I thought that's how it worked, but I didn't know until I got into the major, and I said, okay, let me start, doing, because this is what I want to do. So let me start surrounding myself. I started going to hotels, and some of our class projects were made where we would have to go to a hotel to interact, to find out what was going on, because we had to write a report at the end of the month. We had to write a report about, I went to this hotel. What did you learn? Did you talk to this person? You talk to that person? So, I mean, the advice I would give, find a mentor, someone that's in that space already. If you're interested in hotels, find a mentor, someone that's there already, right? Someone that maybe can point you in the right direction, answer any questions you may have. Because like I said, no one mentored me. Well, when I got in, they did, but trying to figure it out, no one knew anything about it. So, because the most of the people that were my friends that I went to school with, they were business majors, they were computer science majors, computer information, architect. They were everything but that. So it was tough for me for a little while to figure it out. And then another thing, when I did go into the major, there was only two other people that looked like me. And that's always an issue too, right? So, but then I had to think, throughout my whole life, for the most part, anything that I did outside of high school, I was always the one that looked like me. Okay, so going to, to conferences and things like that, there was no one else that looked like me. There's maybe two other people. It was always like that. So I said, you know what? I can't let that be an obstacle. That I have to push past that, right? So, but yeah, my advice would be find a mentor, someone that's in that space if you're interested in that space, and then pick their brain. I'm always available for stuff like that. I mean, I've gone back to my college, my university that I came from, maybe one or two times since I graduated 25 years ago or so, and I always put myself out there. I said, hey, this is my information. If you have any questions about this industry, let me know. Do you know how many people have called me?
I guess none.
Zero. None. zero have called me or emailed me or anything or reached out. But I mean, and I don't know what it is. I can't worry about that. But I'm always accessible. It didn't matter, who it is or where they come from or where they are in this world, because social media. So that's one thing about social media. You're in Europe, right? So let's just think about that. You found me on LinkedIn. We found each other on LinkedIn. Okay. I mean, the world is big, but it's so small, right? But where distance shouldn't be an issue. It was nothing for you to reach out to me and say, "Hey, let's have a conversation about being on the show." There was nothing for that. So if people that are out of the country want questions about that, because it's universal, right? So I'm here to help. So get a mentor and ask them questions, pick their brain, and whatever you're thinking, let them know what you're thinking. And maybe that person can push you in the right direction or push you in the direction that maybe you're going anyway. They just maybe giving you a little push. But yeah, so that would be my advice.
Okay. Brilliant. Thank you for the advice. So hopefully you get some kids now calling you and asking for more advice. Russell Edmond, marketing expert and content creator from Russell of Hotels, and also on air with Russell of Hotels show on podcast on every platform. Thank you very much for your time. You've been super kind to share your story.
You're more than welcome. Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Cheers. Thanks again for the time.
That was all for now. Hope you found it useful. Remember that you have more information on our website www.torresconsulting.co.uk, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and Twitter. Stay well. Goodbye for now.